Welcome, guys, to InOutFinland Podcast. Welcome to the POV, and today we'll be having a talent acquisition specialist by Heidi. So, Heidi, nice to meet you. Tell us about yourself.
Yay, nice to meet you and good to be here. About myself. So I don't know how did I end up here, but I've been working with recruitment and talent acquisition for about, 14 years.
Wow.
10 years, I don't know. I started when I was 19, and that was actually my first proper job when I got into recruitment by an accident. Somebody saw potential in me, kudos to them. Fast forward, I've been working in consultancies, in-house roles for the past decade maybe, until last fall, I'd say, when I decided to switch an industry. But yeah, so far I've been working quite a few years in the industry and with the topics.
Okay, so let me ask you: is that what you always wanted to be? Like, is that like growing up? Is that what you always wanted to, or you just found yourself in that lane and you decided to just stick with it?
That's a good question. I'd say that I had a background in competitive sports, and by that time I was training and practicing quite a lot, and I didn't really know what I was really would like to do when I grow up. And I think that in recruitment and in sports there were a lot of like transferable skills that I found that were quite similar. And when I got the first opportunity to start working with the recruitment, I thought that there would be many skills that I already had, as had been doing sports for so many years. So that was basically a nice transition into a work line, but it really came by an accident. So I really didn't really think about that I would start working in with recruitment and talent acquisition, but it was kind of coincidence now when looking at it as a hindsight.
Okay, so tell me, what's your typical day like? Typical day in talent recruitment. What are the things you do basically every day?
Yeah, so of course, this depends very much whether you're working in an in-house role or whether you're working as a consultant. But obviously, in the core, when we're talking about recruitment and talent acquisition in a bigger perspective, is finding the talent for the people and for the companies that you're working with. So everything through like strategic planning, of course, of the personnel and the hires that we're going to do in the future, and then obviously developing those internal processes towards finding the talent and really having them in the business in the long run. But then on the other hand, if we're talking about the candidate's perspective and what is more like visible in the public is actually working with the recruitment processes. So working closely with the hiring managers, hiring teams, setting up the profiles, what we're looking for, and then obviously doing the actual processes as well, and finding the talents and then connecting with interesting people, meeting interesting people, and hopefully hiring them and hopefully seeing them being successful in their roles in future as well. But I'd say that if we're talking about talent acquisition as a whole, it's a bigger entity than only working with the recruitment processes. Of course, it's an important part of the whole scope, but when we're talking about the talent acquisition as a whole, there are different kind of perspectives and different kind of tasks and activities that you work in daily basis.
Okay, so break it down to me.
Yeah.
So basically, it goes through the talent acquisition first before the hiring manager. How does it work? What's the chain? How does it work?
Yeah, of course, when we're talking about like recruitment process, if we discuss about that, so obviously it always starts with the recruitment team or the talent acquisition specialist to scoping down that what's the profile that we're looking for. And usually you start the process by having a very deep discussions with the hiring teams and the hiring managers to really understand that what are we looking in here. And then on the other hand, it depends once again on the company that you're working with, but usually it's the talent acquisition or the recruitment professional who has the ownership over the whole process, and they're the ones helping out the hiring teams and hiring managers to complete and obviously to be in a great role in the hiring process. But usually the talent acquisition or recruitment person or specialist is the one having the ownership over the whole process of finding the person to join the company.
Okay. Another question is this now. Okay, as an immigrant, you being experienced like 10 years in the industry, talent acquisition industry, what do you think is the biggest challenge of immigrants from different countries, from all over the world, like having, getting a job, a corporate job to say in Finland? What do you think is the biggest challenge for them?
Yeah. Obviously, this is a difficult question to answer in a sense that I've been growing and living in Finland throughout my whole life. But if I would put it that way, that if I would move to a new country and start a job, so I'd say that the most challenging parts would be to obviously narrow down that what are the companies that I would like to work in, and what are the companies, who are the people working there, who do I need to know in order to be able to network with people, and then really having an understanding about the culture and the procedures, what it takes to get to an interview, or how what's my CV, how does it look like, what do I need to do in order to stand out from the rest of the candidates or the pool, so that I would get the chance to meet with people. Obviously, I'm not the best person to say that how does it look like in Finland, but I'd say that these would be the challenges that I would most likely face if I would move to a new country.
Okay, so tell me, Heidi, you just dodged my question. you didn't answer, you just went on this side. But okay,
very politically correct answer to put it that way.
You played the fast one on me.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are the common mistakes people make in their CV? Like, what are the 5 common mistakes that people make when you go through a CV?
Yeah.
And what are the 5 common mistakes that you see and makes them be to move forward in the application or not? And what are the tools you think they need to be aware of? Like, for example, LinkedIn, you cannot shove away LinkedIn and other platforms where people apply. So just give us like a whole, make everything like in a round ball to tell us like what are the 5 things that you think you need to adjust in your CV to push you forward.
Yeah, well, I'd say that from a talent acquisition or recruitment perspective, when I'm looking at the CV, I usually, in some of the cases, you may receive hundreds of applications. So the time is super limited because there are deadlines that you need to hit because you need to find the right candidate. So I would say that, first of all, having as clear CV as possible for the other person to actually get a good understanding of your competencies in a few seconds. Not in a few seconds, but in the first site that you're looking at the CV. So I'd say that, first of all, be super clear about the position where you've been working, and be super clear about the fact that why would you like to work in a company. So the second that I'd say that the CVs that usually stand out from the rest are the ones that you can really see that the candidate has really thought about of why would they work in the company, whether it's an introduction or whether it's highlighting the skills that they have in the CV. So really pointing out those skills that they see that would be suitable for the company that they are applying to. Then on the other hand, CVs that are very, I said that the ones that are clear, but when there are different kind of companies where people have been working. So for example, if you're coming from outside of Finland and you know that the person who is reading the CV doesn't know the companies where you've been working. So the CVs that has a short introduction of the company or the industries that they have been working. So it showcases and it makes it so much easier for the person who is reading it to really understand that what's the competence behind the person sending the CV.
Okay.
And then obviously, lastly, the cover letter. So really making sure that you point out your motivation of why you would like to work in a company and why do you believe that you would have the best competencies out there. So having the ability to make it super easy and clear for the person to get the point of why would you be a relevant candidate.
All right.
I'm not sure if I understood your question.
Do you really read all those cover letters?
Yes, I actually do. And sometimes it's very time consuming, obviously, when you're getting a lot of information in, but I think that really depends on the recruiter. So some people would they like to start from the resumes and then continue to the CVs and vice versa.
Okay.
But I would say that my responsibility as a professional is to, if somebody has taken their time to submit their application to the company that I'm representing, I, as a professional, I have the responsibility to value their time as well. So that's what I tend to do. But obviously, it's sometimes it can be very time consuming when you're going those through, and hence why it's super important that you have a clear CV and clear resume, so that the person who is reading gets a good understanding about your skills like right away, so that they don't need to seek and dig for the information for 15 minutes before like getting it.
Okay, so what happens to, like, I've heard where they say don't put your pictures in your resume. What do you think about that? Do you think you should put your image in your resume, or don't put your image in your resume?
I don't have a clear opinion on that. On the other hand, I'd say that obviously if you see a picture of somebody, it leaves some kind of a maybe memory stamp to your brain, because we relate to people. But then on the other hand, I'd say that obviously no one should be hired for the position based on whether they had a picture in their CV or not. So I'd say that if you want to use it, you can. If you don't want to, that's completely okay. But I don't have a clear opinion on the fact whether you should have a photo or not.
Okay. So what happens to, like, some companies have a spot where they put like open applications. Did they really work on those open applications, or it's just there for the eye candy, just for the looks? Like a lot of open applications where they say, okay, just drop an open application.
Yeah, I know.
Did they really go through that stuff, or it's just there for the sake of maybe regulation? Maybe it's normal for a company to have open application spot. Do they really go through that open application spot?
Yeah, they usually go the same process as any recruitment process, based on the experience that I have. Obviously, I can't speak to behalf of others. But yeah, I think that's a very good way to show your interest towards the company that you're looking for. But and then on the other hand, in my perspective, when I'm looking for to fill in a role, I always seek out my previous networks and the previous candidates that I've been in touch with, because already if I've had a discussion with somebody that I think that would be super suitable for a position, obviously I consider them as well. So I think that using open applications is a good way to show your motivation towards the organization. And then on the other hand, you can be more broad about the fact that what would you like to do if it's an open application. But I do know companies as well who have their open applications and they do nothing about it, and then it's a waste of time for the people to send in theirs. But but then I would also maybe network with the people that are working with the recruitment. Because obviously when you know the people who are maybe making the decisions and you have got to know them, or you have had a catch up with them, or you have dropped them a message on LinkedIn, it really makes it makes it easier to reconnect then if then there is a open position that you would be suitable.
Okay. Now we're in the age of AI, where artificial intelligence is playing a vital role in every aspect of our life. People use AI. So what's the role of AI in talent acquisition? Because there are some there's a notion that all the applications pass through different AI tools where you have some checks put into place to be able to sieve out the CV to make going through the process easier for the talent acquisition. Is that true? Because some people are saying no, it's not true. Some people are saying that yes, AI is being used. So what do you think? What's your take?
Yeah, well, based on my experience with the softwares that I've been doing in the past, or at least I haven't been using an AI in such that they would like shortlist me candidates, because obviously I don't know the algorithm or how it works, but I do know that in the industry there are softwares that are developing those kind of tools that would help the work of the talent acquisition professional with their work. But I'd say that so far, at least based on my experience, there are people who are going through the applications. But of course, there are different kind of technologies and search tools that you can make your work easier as a talent acquisition specialist, for example, to search for different kind of keywords or whatnot. But that shouldn't, in my experience, you shouldn't rely too much on the algorithms, because I don't know how developed it is as of yet, but I do believe that, especially in the future, super excited to see where the industry goes in terms of AI. But then, of course, with the communication with the candidates and so on, so there are many tools that you can use AI with, and I've also experienced those.
Okay. You have 10 years experience in the telecommunication industry in Finland. How big is the role is Finnish language to getting a job in Finland? How big is knowing and communicating in Finnish to land a job in Finland?
Yeah, this is maybe a hot potato. I don't know, but yeah, in my experience, I'd say that we have, or Finland, and especially looking positions as an immigrant in Finland has gotten a bit easier if I compare to, I don't know, 6 years ago. There were many companies that refused to hire people without Finnish skills, but I think that like during the past few years there have become more and more startups and scale-ups and companies that do operate in an international field as well, which has opened the possibilities for international talents to also get in to the business. But I still do believe that there is a challenge in that many companies refuse to hire talents without the Finnish skills. I think that should be definitely changed. And I think that companies should be more open-minded about having international talents in the business, because you can have many different kind of roles in the business that you don't require Finnish skills. But I do say that it has been getting better, but there are still a lot of work to do in terms of hiring international talents and making the environment inclusive for different kind of people to come in.
Okay. All right, let me ask you. Experience over education.
Yeah.
What will you prefer? What will you jump on? Experience over educational background.
I'm not a hiring manager to say, but I would say definitely, well, it depends really on the role, what you're looking for. So if you're looking for a super specific capabilities in super specific role, and if somebody has that over education, then it obviously runs over it. But then on the other hand, if you're hiring a very entry-level person who doesn't have the existing experience, but they do have interesting studies that could support, then obviously the work experience drive over the education drives over. So I'd say that there isn't a clear answer to that, but I would say that then on the other hand, having the experience somewhere, I've never seen that somebody would be refused or rejected over a job if they didn't have an education, if they had the experience. So I would say that I've never seen that a person with the right capabilities and right work experience but didn't have a degree wouldn't have gotten the job.
Yeah, but I think it's very interesting. But like for example, I can have masters in a particular field.
Yeah.
For example, I can have masters in maybe data, for example, business analyst. But I've not really had the work experience because immediately after my the bachelor's degree, I went for the masters immediately, and I don't really have a work experience, but I have an idea of what I'm being taught. Yeah. And somebody that just came out of high school and just learned it online, and he has some couple of experience. Yeah. So I'm like weighing the two of them. Which one will you jump on? Will you go for the one that has the experience, or the one that went through the school process, that have a master's degree but no experience, no work? Is not conversant with the tools, like how to work in an agile environment and things like that. Yeah.
Well, obviously it depends on the environment, and it depends on the specific hire that you're looking for. And obviously somebody who has, well, they didn't have a degree but they have been working for different kind of projects, for different kind of companies with the same type of tasks that somebody who has been like doing that work in university. Well, I would say that they are the equal, but obviously it's a super difficult question to answer because it's always a specific role that you're trying to fulfill. Yeah. But yeah, it is a challenge in a sense that if you have a degree, for example, somewhere outside of Finland, and then you're trying to get the first job here, and you don't still have the work experience. So how to somehow get your foot on the door. So I'd say that obviously it is a challenge.
Okay. So how do you feel, for example, with your experience 10 years in industry? Definitely you've communicated with other HR, other talent acquisition specialists outside Finland, right? What do you think? What's the similarities and the differences between their industry or their country and Finland? Is it the same rules that apply in terms of acquisition talent for a particular role, or is just the same thing, or is different based on culture?
Yeah, I would say I haven't been hiring to the companies that fully operate like internationally. So the companies that I've been working with have been like Finnish companies who operate internationally. But I'd say that especially with the form of like job ads and form of like CVs, they differ quite much based on the country that you have been looking for. So I'd say that like in the UK, people like to use more words and be more like vivid with their CVs, and they can be a bit more time consuming to actually dig deeper what people have been doing as then compared to Finland, where people are quite like straightforward what they have been doing. So when I started it took some time for me to really understand that, okay, how do I read this instead of like the CVs that I've like seen in Finland.
Okay, I've seen examples of I've seen immigrants that have a particular skill and they are not even able to land a job in Finland over years, and they give up and they get very demoralized with that process. What advice do you think? What are the things you think they need to do? Do they need to go back to the drawing board and maybe get more experience, or go back to school, or keep applying for the right opportunity?
Yeah, this is a obviously very tricky question because there are many reasons why somebody isn't hired, and obviously it is challenging and frustrating as well. But I would say that like in my experience, how I have found a job, or in my experience what I've found others who have been looking for a job, I emphasize the worth of networking, especially in Finland, because we are a super small country and nearly everybody knows each other at somehow. So I'd say that the more people you know, the easier for you it is to find a role in Finland, in a sense that if you know somebody who have moved from another country to Finland and they have succeeded in finding a job, so connecting with those kind of people and then asking for help. I think that Finland is super great with people being helpful when they are being asked for. So what I would do, and what I did at some point when I was looking for a job, I just dialed in every of my friend and just randomly, posted random posts on LinkedIn and Instagram and asked for people to help, and asked people for random catch-up coffees for 15 minutes over LinkedIn or over Google Meet, and I just I got to meet people, and the more people I knew, then they became my friends kind of, and then it was easier for them to also then recommend me for a position or another, because they didn't not only knew me from my CV, but then they knew me as a person. So if I didn't stand out from the rest of the candidates through only my CV, but then I thought that if somebody would know me, maybe it would be easier for me to open new doors.
Okay. So how big is recommendation in Finland, in the Finland industry? Do they believe more in recommendation? I'm asking like a general question. Now, do you believe more in recommendation, or how does it work? Because do you really need to know somebody in that industry to get a job? Or for example, I'm applying an XY company. Do I need to know somebody in that company? Does it increase my chances of getting into that company?
Of course it shouldn't, because the recruitment should be like equal to all candidates. But I would say that it doesn't harm you if you know somebody from the company. Because the more people you know, the bigger network you have, and the easier it might be to then find a position, or get to know people in those companies or those who are making the decisions. But I wouldn't say that it is a must, but I would say that it doesn't harm you the more people you know.
Okay. Well, Heidi, the last question I asked you yourself here from Finland.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a different thing. I'm talking about from an immigrant's perspective, like somebody that just moved to Finland like maybe 3 years ago or 2 years ago. How should the person go about getting a job? What are the tools? Do you think you should go more on LinkedIn or more on attending events, or what do you recommend the person to do?
Yeah, Well, I would do it all. If I would move to a new country, I would seek out like the industry that I would be interested in. I would seek out for possible events. I could network with people. I would go there. Then I would check that do I have the right competencies to work in those companies. I could take random courses or projects. I would connect with people who are working in the industry and are working in the companies. I would do it on LinkedIn. I would most likely, start being more active on LinkedIn as well, so that you would reach more people. And yeah, starting from there. I'm not sure if I answered to your question, but
what are the top sites you recommend getting a job?
LinkedIn.
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Yeah, like the major ones. Like what are the sites you think?
Well, obviously there's like worldwide. I'm maybe more specialized in Finland,
Okay,
but
Finland.
I would say
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Let's go Finland.
LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Duunitori.
Duunitori.
Yeah, Duunitori. Yeah. Then Oikotie just shut down, so they don't exist anymore. And then I would seek out many companies that are doing recruitments for their.
Yeah. What about Glassdoor?
Yeah, there are, but.
Have you heard of Glassdoor?
Yes, but it's not. It's Glassdoor, but it's not. Yeah. I wouldn't say that it's so popular in Finland that many companies would use it. So I would start with Duunitori. LinkedIn, and then on the other hand, scouting those big companies that are doing recruitments for different clients, so scouting their websites as well.
Okay.
So depending on the industry.
Okay. As a natural person, have you ever, like personal, this is the personal, just a question I want to ask. Like, have you ever hired someone that you felt wasn't right for the job?
Yes.
So what did you do in your mind? How did you take it? What was your reaction?
Or is the question that or can you re-ask the question?
Okay, let me ask the question. Let me phrase it. Have you ever hired someone that you later found out wasn't capable for the job? For the particular role, after hiring the person?
Yes, of course there have been mistakes in the hiring process.
So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, of course, usually in the recruitment processes, it's the hiring manager or the hiring team that makes the final decision whether a person has been hired or not. But usually if a person then ends up not being that successful in the position as expected, as a recruiter myself, I strongly always would have wanted to have a retro with the hiring manager and truly understand that what were the reasons that why this person wasn't a suitable person for the role, or why the role wasn't suitable for the candidate. So really digging deeper and understanding the reasons why we messed up, and then through those experiences learn from the mistakes and then obviously redo it. Sometimes it can be that we didn't scope the role as well as we would have wanted to. Sometimes it can be that we didn't ask for the right questions for us to really understand what are the motives or what the person is suitable for, or then it also can be that the candidate understood that the role isn't suitable for them. So I really see that if we end up not having a successful result in the recruitment, it's always a place to truly understand that what were the issues, because it's not only straightforward always. It can be very tricky and it can be complex why something didn't end up being successful. But I've always encouraged people to have open discussions and having as trustful relationships with the hiring teams and the managers and the candidates as well. So I think that I've had a fortunate place to be where I have had the possibility to then obviously having some kind of retros with the people who have been involved with it.
Okay, let me ask you, have you heard of the concept here, hidden job markets?
I wouldn't say that in Finland it's a concept, but I would say that it exists at some level in Finland. There might be roles that are going to go live, but then you happen to find somebody before, or there can be open positions that you just never don't put live. based on different kind or due to different kind of reasons that companies may have. So I wouldn't discuss that as being a concept, but I think that it's something that happens and occurs in Finland and in any other countries.
Okay. I've experienced or I've heard of situation whereby a company puts out a role, but they already have somebody for that role. Why is it now? The question is this now: is it part of the law to put out the rules out? Is it like a law thing?
Yeah.
Or okay, tell me more.
Yeah or no? I would say that. Well, I haven't been working for governments or public sectors, but it might be that it's some kind of in like that public sector. If you have an open position, you need to go live with the open position, and every candidate should apply it, and everybody should have the same process before they hire a person into it. In more like corporate jobs, and this might be that I'm not so familiar with the actual legislation, but I'm not aware that we have that kind of a law that you need to put out the job if there's an open position. Obviously, you can fulfill it the way you want it. But in terms of like in like equality and diversity, and so that you would get the best possible people out there, it's like quite common that you go live with the ad.
Yeah, even though you have somebody that you have on the standby.
Well, in my perspective, I wouldn't start the process if I had somebody in a standby, if I knew that the person would be suitable for the role. But obviously, in some cases, there might be that there could be somebody that you have been considering, but then on the other hand, you would like to also have more people in the process in case of somebody steps out from it or whatnot. Yeah.
Give me an example of the most creative CV you've ever come across.
Greatest CV.
Something that just strikes you with any, like the CV. What strikes you with the CV?
Well, my own, of course. No. I would say those kind of CVs that right when you look at it, you can see that what the person has been doing and what are their competencies and what could be their transferable skills for the position that I'm looking for. There isn't only one answer that okay, you will find a job if you will create this kind of a CV and then that's it. But I would say the ones that are super clear and they don't you don't leave with question marks after having it. I think that the worst CVs are the ones that you have more questions than you had before opening it. So I think that the CV should always answer on the question that why would I think that I would be suitable for this role based on my these competencies that I have.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you. Finnish companies always said that I think there's always a challenge, or is it not really a challenge? A lot of Finnish companies are striving to be the happiest place to work.
Yeah.
What's that all about? Happiest place to work? Like the ranking. What does it really do for that company?
The great place to work ranking. You mean?
Yeah, the ranking. Yeah. What does it really do?
Well, in my understanding, international company who is driving these kind of certifications and to go through that kind of a process that you get the certification, you prove that you consider specific aspects in the work environment so that it's safe for the employees and the people to work. So I'd say that it's just a commonly known certification that you can apply, and then many companies do so. And then on the other hand, if you rank very well in those kind of surveys, you get visibility, and the more you get visibility, the more attractive you are as an employer employer as well. So it's just one way to showcase your company as an employer.
Oh, okay. Because I know everybody's always serious about work, like, happiest place to work, and I was like, it's like something they take very seriously in Finland.
Yeah. But I would say I think that the organization is like multinational organization, which is doing these kind of surveys all across like Europe and the world as well. So, yeah, but just one way to showcasing your abilities as an employer.
They don't give them any money. They don't pay.
No. No, not that least that I know, but no, it's usually an anonymous.
Okay, so they're just able to they just put it in writing, happiest place to work. So any of your publications, you can always put it as a team that okay, we are the happiest place to work, so here and the rest like that.
Yeah, but the survey goes so that you need to reapply it every year, and it's being assessed. Yeah, it's being assessed every year by like external auditors. So you need to actually do some work in order to get the certification.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you think about work-life balance in Finland? What do you think? What do you feel? Do you really think there's enough work-life balance? Happiest country. Do you really think there's a balance between the work life in Finland?
I really think that, like, compared to other countries that I've hired people to, I think that Finland is quite decent in the work-life balance. But of course, it depends on the industry, very much where you're working. If you're working in a hyper-growth company that has more work to do than they have resources, then of course it might be that you need to work for longer hours. But I think that, like, generally speaking, we have quite nice balance with work and free time. But then on the other hand, I think that individuals as well have the responsibility to really set out their own limits and set out their own, like, way of working and really balancing between work and
because I've noticed that in Finland you don't play with holidays. It seems like holidays are very, very, like, you don't text during holidays, you don't receive messages about during holidays. It's like you shut down completely during holidays.
We like our holidays. Obviously, holidays are your time to wind down and
Really?
be away from work, I would say.
What is something very urgent and they need your attention on? And you're on holiday. It seems like it's like you can't contact the person. Even though the company is going to come, you have to wait till the person is done.
I think that depends really on the company that you're working in. But obviously, I think that it's a common thing that if somebody is off, they are off and they should have their time off.
You mean no matter what happens, you can't contact the person?
Well, of course you can contact the person, but usually companies have their own, like, guides and rules that how do they operate. Some people want to work during their vacation, and that's okay. But, like, obviously we have vacation in our legislation as well, so people really should have their time off when they are on vacation.
So no. What I'm asking is if the company, what happens if there's an emergency and you need to contact the person on holiday? What will you do? Are you going to contact the person or just wait till the person comes back?
It depends on the level of the emergency, but obviously, yes, you can contact. It's not illegal to contact somebody if they're on holiday, but I think it's common that you respect the people who are away and are on holiday because it's their time to unwind, as I said. But it really depends on the teams and the companies, and I've worked in teams where people have been okay that if something happens they can work from their holidays, and then I've worked in teams where people didn't want to be contacted. So I think that we kind of do any type of generalization over the topic. It depends on the teams and the companies as well.
Okay. All right, so we're going to be introducing the trivia session. We'll talk about fun things now, a lot of the hard things. It's still going to be HR related though, anyway.
Yay!
Yeah, fun things. So what do you like to do if you're not working? What do you do, like, if you're not working, if you're not, what are the ways you enjoy Finland?
I stay out with my friends. I make good food. I go to gigs. I draw. I do art. I don't know. I just live, watch TV, sleep. Yeah,
that's all.
That's all.
So how do you do this period where there's longer night, shorter day? How do you cope?
Longer what?
Longer night, shorter day. Like 3 o'clock.
Oh yeah. During winter time.
Yeah,
well,
winter time. Is that how it is throughout the whole winter? I think it's going to be longer night, shorter day, right?
Yeah, now I think that the nights are getting shorter when we're going towards the summer. But I'm dying and then I'm sleeping and then I'm depressed, and that's how I usually cope with it.
Yeah, Okay, they said people, depression. So how do you rate it, like, depression? Tell me more. When people say they're always depressed in Finland, what do they actually mean by being depressed? Is it the sunlight that they don't see that makes them
For
depressed?
me,
Or, okay, for you.
for me especially,
what do you classify
because,
depression
well,
as?
I don't like the cold. I'm
Okay.
always freezing, so that pisses me off when I'm going outside and it's so freezing. And then the darkness. I think that
Why
it
did you
takes.
born here practically?
I don't know. I'm born in a
So it
different
seems like
country.
so it becomes new every single year. Every single year is like a new thing. Every
Yeah,
single
but I
year.
think that that's a thing in Finland, like really a thing that people get diagnosed in this kind of a seasonal depression because
Okay.
because of the weather. But how do I cope with that and with the darkness? So then I hang out with my friends. I love candles. I have so
Okay.
much candles. I go to sauna.
Do you make them?
No, I don't make, but I buy them. And then I try to get myself into as many events as possible to distract myself from the darkness and the coldness.
Okay. So they get diagnosed for depression.
Yeah. It's like I think it's called like seasonal depression that people have.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's why you have those huge like lamps
Mm.
in people's like super bright lamps, and you get. I think that you treat it that way, that you just stare at a light for like 20 minutes, and every morning, and then then you get cured. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Wow. So what happens? Like me, if I don't have money, I'm depressed. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah, the money is the issue,
Easy.
not
It's
the darkness.
No, not the darkness. If you don't have money, I think I'm depressed now. I think I'm low on cash. Yeah, I think that happens. Wow, very interesting. So the doctors give you solutions to get better. Look at the light.
Yeah, I don't know, and then do the casual morning walk and do sports and eat well and sleep well and
Okay.
having a proper life balance. I think that's the
Yeah.
key. I don't know.
Okay, so what do you think about the concept of sisu? Am I pronouncing it? Did I pronounce it well? Sisu.
Sisu.
Yeah. Where does sisu come in the Finland life? Where does it come in?
People always talk about sisu, and then I've been trying to understand the core of sisu, and I'm not still sure if I know what it means or not. But I think that being persistent
Okay.
and just dealing with the shit and just going through and pushing through,
Yeah.
and just having the mindset that whatever happens, you just go through it.
Okay.
I don't really know what sisu means. I like the
Okay.
candies though.
Oh, the candles is part of sisu?
Yeah, sisu candies. These, yes.
Oh, you like the candies? They call sisu?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so tell us about the sauna concept.
Sauna.
Yeah, I heard that every decision in Finland is made in the sauna. Like, there are some people that just sit in sauna and make some decisions, legislation, rules. That a lot of powerful things happen in the sauna.
I think
So
that
do applicants should they go more to the sauna to see this?
I think we should have like proper job interviews in sauna. No, but I think that actually was a thing in the
Yeah.
80s, 70s and 80s, that people actually like huge negotiations. You really used to go to sauna with your clients and make those decisions.
Wow.
And then you got out, and then you were friends. Not sure how often does that happen in Finland these days anymore. But yeah, the concept of sauna. I have a sauna. I love it. It's a place for you to be mindful and calm down and just be by yourself and enjoy the presence. I think it's quite a lot about just enjoying the presence where you are,
Okay.
so to say. Yeah.
I had a lot of big decisions happen in sauna. So instead of having coffee meetings, can't we have like more of sauna? Let's have a sauna. Let's have a 30-minute sauna, and we'll discuss the job. Like instead of having coffee meetings.
That would be a torture. That would be a torture. Imagine being in 100 degrees sauna for like 45 minutes and having a job interview. That wouldn't work. That wouldn't work.
So I think is it safe to say like most Finnish people are in love with saunas, right? You think it's part of the Finnish tradition?
Obviously it's a huge part of our culture, and we have, I don't know how many saunas do we even have, like over 2 million saunas in Finland. So
Is it
no.
public saunas or with the one in the homes? Is it home and public or just public?
Both. Private.
Okay, private and public.
I would I'm more into private saunas, but
How many? Like you give a figure right now. The figure,
I have
is it
no
for
idea.
Is it for both private or public
Both
soda?
private and public, because
How many? 2 million.
I think it's over 2 million.
Oh wow.
I have no idea. Somebody needs to Google that because I think it's millions.
Okay.
But don't shoot me down if it's something else.
No, I get you. So tell me, what are give us 5 points what to do when applying for a job with the CV, applying for a job on an immigrant's perspective. What are the 5 things he needs to know, like straight 5, so that everyone
straight 5.
Yeah, so that all our viewers can adjust their CVs, and maybe you're applying for a particular role and they need their CVs to be revamped, or something they need to look out for, or they need to know. Just give us 5 straight.
I need to think about this. First of all, tweak your CV. Make sure that it's clear.
All right, tweak your CV, adjust the CV.
Yes. Network with relevant people.
Okay. Attend events.
Yes.
Social event. Is it just events or just network? How do you network? Events, right?
Yeah.
Okay, events.
Or different kind of exhibitions that there are afterwards. There are many meetups in Helsinki area. Then I would say that network also with other people who are in the same kind of situation that you are, so that you can relate and you get support from the people who are in the same situations.
Yeah.
And then I would say that seek for different kind of positions, not only the ones that is your own special industry, but you can try out different kind of things and see that's how would you get yourself in. And then be present in social media, in LinkedIn for example. Let others know that you're looking for a job. Ask help from others to get a job, and comment on people's posts, post yourself. Make sure that everybody knows you as well. So yeah, those kind of things. I'm not sure if there was 5 already, but
yeah, I think that's more than 5. But there's this stuff in LinkedIn where they say when you put open to work. Yeah, there's some I've listened to videos where they said it's not really good to put open to work in your CV.
I think I'm why wouldn't you put if you are open to market? Because especially now there are many job seekers that are looking for a position. It's not a shame that you're looking for a position. It's an obvious thing. So I would say that it's completely okay. And then, by the way, one point to the ways of getting hired, I would say that make sure that your LinkedIn page is up to date, because as a recruiter, many of the roles that I'm looking for, we do sourcing and we headhunt people as well, and we do that through LinkedIn, and we are looking for people to get in those positions. So make sure that your LinkedIn page is up to date. Add keywords, add recommendations, add a summary, and make sure that that is basically top. Because when we're doing the searches, it works like a Google. So there are different kind of keywords that we do in order to find people. So the more relevant your own LinkedIn page is, the higher you will get in the LinkedIn's search engine. So it might be that then you get seen more often. So I would say that is a super important way of broadening your visibility.
All right. Okay, so tell me more about the industries that you're likely to get hired. Moving to Finland.
I think this is it's an interesting question, because obviously when we were talking about that, is it difficult to get a position in Finland if you don't speak Finnish? It depends very much on the role that you're looking for. So when we're talking, for example, about a software developer where you don't actually need to be in the customer forefront, it's easier for you to find a job. But then on the other hand, if you have been doing sales and you are applying to a Finnish company that doesn't have any international accounts, it might be super difficult to get a job. So I would say that moving in Finland as well, obviously it's a good opportunity for a person to really think about what do you want to do, and if you have been doing a job when you really know that Finland is super required, is there a possibility to educate yourself or go to a school and study something completely different? So I would say that it really depends on the roles, because there are many roles that you can apply without like having super good Finnish skills. And usually the ones that require like customer interfacing, it might be more difficult to get a job. So I'd say that it depends quite a lot about the role that a person is hired to.
All right, guys, you've heard. So depend on the role, so definitely you need to find out what works best for you and the environment that you are in. That means if you're doing more of customer interfacing, that means you need to learn the basic language to communicate for sales and marketing and stuff like that.
And then on the other hand, it might be that you need to be super fluent in like Finnish language. So if you know that you're not a native speaker, it might be super tricky to get in some positions, but then there are a lot of different kind of positions that you can have intermediate Finnish skills and you can succeed very well. But I think that the biggest problems, and now is the time when my rant starts, I think that the biggest problem for companies is that they don't want to hire people in positions even though that the positions wouldn't require Finnish skills. And I think that there's this kind of a bigger problem in the society and the organizations, that they are too afraid of hiring like people without very good Finnish skills. And I think that when companies really move or change from inside and they understand that diversity is something that we need to encourage and enhance, that is a place when it gets easier for international talents to get those positions. So I think it's a bigger societal problem that we have in Finland, that companies are too afraid of the change, that, okay, what's going to happen in the, coffee discussions if we have somebody who doesn't understand Finnish? Okay, then you switch to English and it should be completely okay. But I think it's a wider like discussion that companies need to do internally, that they change so that they are ready for the international talent. So I believe that the biggest problem for people to get in is a societal issue that we have.
Yeah, because I see sometimes when I read, it seems like Finland wants people to come.
Yes.
They're looking for foreign talents from all over the world. But at the same time too, when you look at it, it seems as if they don't want foreign people to come. It's like in two ways. Because I see applications that says, the English language is the main language, but Finnish will be considered an advantage. It automatically means that you need Finnish for that role, right?
Or it might be that the official company language is English, and then all the coffee discussions in the kitchen are in Finnish. So I think that like companies in general should be more open to change inside, and that would be the cure for the people to actually get here and get the positions, because we have so many good people coming abroad and not just being given the opportunity to succeed. So I'd say it's a wider issue that we're dealing with.
What do they mean by an advantage? What does that mean? If you look at an advantage, does it mean that the Finnish language criteria is going to come in as the main thing when you say considers an advantage? How do you look at it from a talent acquisition?
I have no idea. What does it mean? Because usually, I remember discussing with like some of the hiring managers in my like previous life, and they said that okay, French would be an advantage. And why is that? Is that some guy who used to be a customer understood French? So I think that it really depends on the company. What do they mean that if a language is a requirement or an advantage? But I'd say that if in job ads in general, Finnish skills, it's a requirement, it really is a requirement for the sake of being successful in the position.
What's the difference between an advantage and a requirement? Is it the same thing?
No, I'd say that, in my opinion, requirement is something that without that competence, you cannot succeed in your work, which would mean that you would have, for example, clients in Finnish, and you would need to have that skills in your daily basis. Advantage would be maybe something that you are not in a customer facing role, you're in a meeting with the customers, but Finnish is still used in the job. And then I would put it that, okay, it's an advantage if somebody talks Finnish, but it's not a requirement, so we don't outrule anyone who doesn't speak it. But if they can do it, then it's a plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the difference between being essential and being an advantage.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How do you know the right salary to ask for a particular role? How do you know the right salary to ask?
Well, there is coming a change in the legislations that I think it was this or next year companies need to go out with the salary bandages that they have. But sometimes it can be tricky, especially when you're coming to a new country. But I would say that, first of all, ask for people that are working in the same field or in the same position, so you get some kind of an understanding. Then I would say that ask from the recruiter that what's the budget, because usually, obviously, before I jump into any open roles, I always have a discussion with the hiring manager that what's the budget, so the budget really exists. So I would maybe turn around the question so that I would ask the recruiter that what is the budget for this role.
Okay.
Or then I would go with a range. So it might be tricky to set up one specific salary.
Yeah.
It can be easier for a candidate to come up with a range that they would be, clad with, I don't know, 4,000 to 5,000 or 3,000 to 4,000 or whatever. Or if they have been working in positions similar before, you can always ballpark that. So you can say that, okay, in my previous position, I've been making this and this and this. And okay, this position is slightly more demanding than the position where I was before, and then go from there. But I would say that being as open as possible, being as transparent as possible is the way to go. And somehow starting from there. And you can always, obviously, if you set up a ballpark to yourself, and then by the recruitment process you realize that, okay, this position is more demanding, and I would like to get more, it's an always discussion that you can have with the recruiter, and I think that
after being hired
or before getting an offer. So it's I would say that it's an open discussion, and it always should be, when getting a position, it should always be a win-win situation for both the company but the candidate as well, because the candidate, at the end of the day, they are the ones who decide whether they want to work for the company or not. So so I would say keeping it as transparent as possible.
Okay, so what happens, there's some applications you feel that the issues of salary comes up before you go to the interview level. Like, for example, you're filling a job application and you write a point where they put desired salary.
Yeah.
So what do you do at that point? Are you going to say yourself short or say yourself high, or how do you know what to put? And second question, does that matter when you're selecting the people?
Yeah. So I would go with a range.
Okay.
Somehow for me it's easy. If I would apply for a position, I would go with the range.
Okay.
And then as a recruiter, if somebody has put the very high salary request, I usually, if I would like to meet this person, I usually call out to them before the interview and ask that, okay, you have a very good CV, but the salary request is slightly higher than what we be budgeted. Okay, would this be something that you would be willing to discuss about?
Yeah.
Or is it something that you want to, withdraw yourself from the process?
Yeah.
So I haven't ever rejected a candidate from a process based on the salary request before meeting them. So I usually have then contacted them before and let them know that we might be in a different kind of levels with the salary, and then ask for their opinion as well. So but it sometimes in Finland it can be a taboo that people don't want to talk about salaries, but I'd say that just asking for people, hey, I'm thinking about this kind of a range, does this sound something that we can work with? Or
okay, so what, back to my question, if you just fill the spot, there's no room for range. For example, if you're just going to put a figure, how do you get that figure to input in that bar? If you're just supposed to just write a figure, like for example, is
Yeah.
3,000, 5,000, whatever, in that spot, are you gonna go online, or what's the best way to approach that kind of?
I would
You know,
ask
like
somebody.
if you're given a range,
Yeah.
yeah, you can always put between
Yeah.
this to this, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to write like a direct figure, what do you do?
Of course, it depends on the role, but I would ask if I'm completely, if I'm like 100% sure that I don't know that what would be my request or my expectations, I would ask from people that are working the same kind of positions that what the range or what the figure could be. But I wouldn't say that it's a huge issue if you put it too high. I would put it rather too high than too low. Like in my own.
Yeah, talking about too low, what do you think? What happens if somebody put the salary too low and the person is qualified? What do? Do you tell the person that this salary is kind of low? How do you approach that kind of scenario?
Yeah, I've usually approached it that way, that I've let them know the range or the budget that we have in use.
Okay, knowing what they put in.
Yeah, knowing what they put in, because obviously, as a person, my job is to be as transparent as possible, and everything is based on honesty.
Yeah.
So obviously, I don't want anybody to sell themselves short either. So I think it's super important for me as a professional to also let them know that, hey, by the way, you could ask quite much more based on your experience what you are now asking. So I like my approach is to be as transparent as possible throughout the whole process.
Is that what does the company feel about that? Would the company be okay with that, or they say, "Wow, you're saving us money"? And
I think
what not happens in that way?
Yeah. Obviously, it always starts with the requirement that what we are looking for. And if we know that we are looking for this kind of a person with these kind of competencies, and we know that, okay, this actually costs this and this much, then obviously if somebody has the right experience, has the right competencies, and is asking, I don't know, 2,000 euros less, obviously I will let them know that, okay, this is the budget where we are in, because this is how we also value the people in our organization. And many organizations, there are different kind of levels, and basically the salary comes from the level that we are at that point hiring. So I wouldn't, if somebody, and I hope that people don't do that, that if they see somebody with super low salary expectations, that they play them. I think that it should always be built upon like transparency and honesty.
Okay, in the side of you or in the side of the company? The honesty, is it from both ways or just from your own aspect? Now, are you doing this based on you, on your own personal intuition to tell the person that, okay, you can ask for more, or does the company expect you to tell the person that, oh yeah, that you can ask for more, or the company, or you can ask for a particular range of salary?
I think that it depends on the company, but like personally, I want to work with companies that align with my own values, which are honesty and transparency. So I wouldn't like to work with companies that are playing candidates based on their ignorance or based on their unknowledge about something. So so hopefully it's both the company obviously and me as a representative of the company.
Okay, how does your personal emotions get in when you're doing your recruitment process? How do you set aside your personal whatever you're going through to be as transparent as possible and to get the job done the right way? How do you separate your personal emotions? For example, maybe something happened at home, at work or something. How do you switch in doing your job without being adding emotions into it?
Well, I'm a people person, so I love people. So always when you're meeting up with new people, it doesn't really matter what has happened before or what will happen after. I just enjoy meeting new people. But when we're talking about the selection and leaving like my own biases behind when I'm making the decisions, I make sure that when I'm going to the interview with a candidate, I know that what are the questions that I need to ask in order for me to find out the transferable skills or find out the suitability for the role. So for my own tools, I plan my meetings very well. I know what I'm asking. I base on my questions base them on competencies.
Yeah.
So the meetings are competence based.
Yeah.
I plan the whole process so that it's not only me making the decisions, but it's the hiring manager and the hiring team, so that there are many like steps throughout the way before the actual decision is being made.
Okay.
So it's not about just going to the meetings and asking random questions and then just randomly deciding that who gets to the second stage, but it should always be tailored by the role that I'm trying to fulfill.
Yeah. What's your take about master's students or students not allowed to work long hours? What do you think? Do you really think it's right? Like, for example, you're having a master's program and you have experience in a particular role, and the companies will not hire you because you're a student. What do you think about it? Do you think it's really right, or you think it could be better?
Well, I haven't witnessed those kind of scenarios very often, because usually companies either hire full-time or part-time employees, and basically if they're hiring part-time employees, then if you're a student, you can then combine your studies and work. But then on the other hand, if you are looking for a full-time position, it doesn't matter whether they're a student or whether they are, coming from another company. If you have a role that requires 37.5 hours work, then you go based on those.
No, but there's a government policy that says students are only allowed to work 30 hours.
No.
Really? Wow. I was thinking there's a law that limits the hours for students to work.
No. You can work however you want to, but then it limits if you earn more than a specific amount. It affects on your study funds that you get from the government, but not you can work basically how much do you want.
For both immigrants and non-immigrants?
I'm not sure about that. It might be different for international employees.
It
might be. Yeah, it might be different.
Yeah, it's international. I think they have 30 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have 30 hours, and you might be qualified, and companies might not recruit you because of that 30 hours. Yes, I've heard these scenarios. Like they'll tell you that yes, we want you, you're good, you're qualified, but we want someone on the full time.
Yeah.
But you're only allowed to work 30 hours.
Yeah, it might be different for immigrants or international students. It might be some kind of a But then on the other hand, you can seek for part-time positions if there are, or even you can start up your own business and work as a freelancer, or find out different kind of money streams to get. So it's not only, it's quite traditional to also think about that, okay, you will need to get a 9-to-5 job, when now I think that these days you have many kind of opportunities that you can seize.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to advise immigrants, what are the lines of job you think you should focus in 2025? What are your advice you have 2025? If you want to get into the corporate space in Finland, what are the tools or the skills or the kind of jobs you need to apply to in 2025?
I don't know, tech industry, tech industries, they are quite international already. And it's a huge market in Finland. It's growing also continuously. I'm not sure if you can rule it on specific industry or a specific position, but if you find something that doesn't require a specific language skills, which would be Finnish in this case, obviously, it makes your job easier.
Okay.
And then I would say just network. Network for everything.
Yeah.
Get to know people. Because obviously, we have 5 million people here in Finland. The more people you know,
the better.
Yeah, and all those people that you have, they have their own networks as well, and they have their own networks. So I'd say that the more people you get to know, the easier for you it is to also get help and ask for help as well. Because we like to help. If somebody asks me that, please, hey, you're super good at this, can you help me out? So of course I will help. And I think that majority of the people are like that. Or I hope so. They would be. But really, I would say, but I witnessed that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Heidi, for your time.
Thank
you
for
coming in. Thank you for sharing your experiences.
Thank you.
I know that the viewers must have learned one or two things from you. I know you don't have your own company, so there's no way they can reach you.
No, and I'm switching an industry,
So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. And I know we're going to have you on the big when you unveil your next plan. Yeah,
yes.
Your next plan.
Yes.
So you We're going to bring you on board when you have your next plan and you want to share something else. Maybe probably in a different field also.
Might be.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank
Go
you.
nowhere. This is InOutFinland Podcast, the POV. I'll see you guys with another episode. Bye.